Chapter 9, page 43. Brandon was awake. He had dozed fitfully but had been awake most of the night. His t-shirt was still damp from yesterday's rain, and he still had no idea where they were. Slapping his arms to warm himself, Brandon looked at the sky. "Come on, son." Scotty squinted up at him. "You couldn't sleep either?" Brandon shook his head. "Too cold." "How are your eyes?" "They still sting, but that's not what's keeping me awake. I'm starving. I've been trying to get these stupid pine cones to open up, but they won't. Daniel said you have to hold them over the fire, and since we don't have one..." Brandon looked around. "Where's Troy?" Scotty rubbed his eyes. "He said he had to go to the John." "How long has he been gone?" "Come to think of it, he's been gone a pretty long time." Brandon cupped his hands. "Troy!" There was no answer. "Come on." Brandon helped Scotty to his feet. Scotty stumbled after him. "You don't think he's lost, do you?" Brandon just looked at him. "Right," Scotty said. Brandon moved along the cliff yelling Troy's name. "Wait!" Brandon stopped. "I think I hear something." A muffled voice came from below the cliff edge. "Help me, I'm down here." Brandon ran to the edge and looked over. "Troy, what happened?" Troy was sitting on a rock ledge a few feet below. His leg didn't look right. It was thrust out to his side at an odd angle. "I stepped wrong and the whole world fell in. I think I busted my leg. Lucky for me this ledge was here. I'd be a goner." "Can you move it?" Troy shook his head. Brandon searched for a way down. Though the distance was only a few feet, there wasn't one. "Scotty, you hold my feet. I'm going to hang down there and try to pull him up." "Are you crazy? I can't hold both of you." "You got any better ideas?" "I do." Daniel stepped out onto the cliff. The boys turned. Relief washed over Brandon. "If there was ever anybody I was glad to see, it's you." Scotty squinted at him. "Is that you, Danny boy? I thought you'd be halfway home by now." "And miss all the fun?" Daniel looked over the edge of the cliff. "How's the weather down there?" Troy gave him a half-hearted grin. "Don't tell me. You just happened to be in the neighborhood, right?" "Something like that." Daniel turned. "You guys hand me your belts." Daniel pulled off his belt, tied it to the other two, and jerked the slack out of them. He handed one end to Brandon. "Lie down and hang on to this. Scotty, you hook your foot around that bush and hold Brandon's feet." Holding one end of the belt rope, Daniel scooted to the edge of the cliff and lowered himself to the ledge below. One look at the ankle of Troy's leg told him it was broken. Daniel shook his head. "Some people will do anything for attention." "I'd be real happy to share this kind of attention, believe me." Daniel moved around to stand behind Troy. "There's only one way to get you out of here. I'm going to help you stand on your good leg. Then grab the belt and Brandon and Scotty will pull you up. Ready?" Troy nodded. Daniel bent down, lifted Troy under the arms, and helped him hop to the belt rope. "No matter how much it hurts, you have to hang on, okay?" "You're the boss." Troy took the end of the belt rope in both hands. Daniel motioned with his thumb. "He's ready. Pull him up." Inch by inch, Brandon pulled. The jagged rocks tore at Troy's flesh and ripped his clothes, but he hung on. When they got him to the edge, Brandon grabbed his arm and dragged him up and over the lip of the cliff. "Okay, now me," Daniel called. He was easier to pull up because he could help with his legs. When he reached the top, he went over to Troy and felt his lower leg. "You really did a job on this. Hang on, I'll be right back." Troy's face was white from the pain. "I'll be here." Daniel moved off the rocky slab and found two sticks about the same length. He tore a strip off the bottom of his t-shirt and trotted back to where Troy was lying. "This is gonna hurt some." Troy gritted his teeth. "Do what you have to do." Daniel straightened the leg as gently as he could. Troy winced and drew a sharp breath. Daniel put a stick on either side of the leg and wrapped them in place with a strip from his shirt. That's the best I can do for now. He tied the last knot and then moved upwind and sat on the rock slab. I hate to mention this, but you guys really stink. Scotty stepped around Brandon. We had a little run-in with a skunk last night. Smells like the skunk won. Brandon rubbed the back of his neck. We kind of made a mess of things. I don't suppose... Troy raised himself up on one elbow. What he's trying to say is, since you left, we haven't had anything to eat, and we don't have a clue where we are. How about it? Scotty asked. Want to get 3 hardheads out of the woods? Daniel stood up and brushed off the back of his jeans. If we're going to get out of here, it's going to take all of us. He looked at Troy, especially since Troy has decided he'd rather ride than walk.